here to react to all of this, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. Well, let's first start with this Cleveland Clinic and this new knowledge saying, and by the way, a lot of doctors that I've been interviewing on my radio show and elsewhere, they've been saying the same thing. Even if your antibody levels go down, you have T-cell immunity where your body would recognize if, in fact, COVID was reintroduced to your body.
Well, why does this matter? It matters a lot because you got a limited amount of vaccine. So if, in fact, people have had COVID-19 previously, don't need the vaccine, that frees up a lot of shots for people throughout the world, right? So science matters here. But the big story, this is the Russian dossier all over again. This stinks to high heaven. This is Labgate, Chinagate, call it whatever you want to call it. Remember when Donald Trump suggested this came out of China and there was a lab leak? Remember that?
Senator Cotton did the same thing. And by the way, everybody in the world knew that they studied coronaviruses, and we all knew that they did gain-of-function research.
Yeah, we all knew that, and we knew they had leaks out of the labs in the past. But on February the 19th, 2020, when we first had the first cases in January, 27 scientists signed a letter that said, conspiracy theories do nothing but create fear, rumors, and prejudice that jeopardize our global collaboration in the fight against this virus. In other words, 27 scientists signed a political document shaming Cotton and Trump and anybody else, shutting them up. The media took it and ran, and it changed the course of the election. Why? Because, number one, these scientists are tied to this lab. They were covering their ass. They put out a letter, not based on science, but a political document trying to destroy the credibility of people who were suggesting it came out of the lab. Why does this matter? If Trump was right about the lab leak, it would change the image the public had of President Trump regarding the coronavirus. More importantly, if it came out of the lab in China, he was right that it was the China virus, and the 2020 election would have been about who could hold China accountable, Trump or Biden. Who would you want in the room to hold China accountable for infecting the world with the coronavirus? Trump or Biden?
Is that a rhetorical question? Because the answer is pretty obvious.
Yeah.
I think Putin is going to eat Biden's lunch. And I think President Xi would eat Biden's lunch, which is frightening for the U.S. and, frankly, embarrassing. But here's what we do know. 10 days after the first identified case of corona, January 31st, the day that Donald Trump put the travel ban in effect that Joe called xenophobic and hysterical, that very same day, Dr. Fauci received an email saying that it looked like the genome sequence showed manipulation in a lab of the virus. That's 10 days after the first case in the U.S. Then we see a series of emails, I would call them CYA emails, talking about whether the NIH funded this, whether or not gain-of-function research was being done with American money, and outright panic by Fauci. But Fauci went before Congress, and he said things that directly contradicted what we now know was in his own emails.
Well, it's more important than that. You know, you did a hell of a job explaining the Russian dossier to the American people, how they ignored every stop sign. They wanted an outcome. Not only did Fauci ignore the warnings, on February the 19th, a couple of weeks after the first case, 27 scientists produced a letter shaming those who suggested the lab leak theory, calling them conspiratorial, that you're a right-wing nut, marginalizing President Trump and Tom Cotton, because if Trump was right, it would have changed the outcome of the 2020 election, I believe. And if we could have proven early on in 2020 it was a lab leak coming from China, not occurring naturally, the public would want revenge against China. And who would they turn to? Biden or Trump? I think this letter by these scientists was orchestrated by somebody to shoot down the idea of the lab leak because they were worried about their own ass being in a sling because of their relationship with China. And I think there was a political motivation here to destroy Trump's credibility. If it were known in February that Trump was right of 2020, I think he'd be president today.
If I did such a good job with the Russia investigation, could you please explain where this guy Durham is? Has there ever been a Durham sighting in the last year? What happened to the report? What happened to the work he was doing? Where were the referrals from Michael Horowitz's, the Inspector General's report?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You know, I'm watching what's going on and the way that the liberal media mob and Democrats are reacting to Joe Manchin, who actually seems to have read the Constitution and understands that no voter ID, no signature verification, no checks and balances or integrity in elections is a bad idea. And he's being called everything from a racist on down. Same with Senator Sinema. And the same with getting rid of the legislative filibuster. As you look at Joe Biden's agenda, it seems like it's right out of Bolshevik Bernie, right out of the radical New Green Deal socialist squad, and out of touch with the American people. How does this play out as we head into 2022?
Well, I think in 2022 will be a check and balance election, that we're going to win the House and most likely take back the Senate, because the agenda they're pushing is not the agenda they ran on. The Joe Biden that's president today is not the Joe Biden who ran in 2020. Moderate Joe is dead and gone, and the squad runs Joe Biden. I think we win because of their overreach, but I hope you'll stay on this China deal. The scientists wrote this letter to tamp down and to undercut any idea it could have come out of this lab to protect their own butt. And it changed the course of this election. Don't let this go, Sean.
Last question. Donald Trump this weekend in North Carolina. I think when Donald Trump says we need election integrity and competence and results, and these are the things that we must do to ensure integrity, when he prosecutes the case against Joe Biden and radical socialism and lays out the American First agenda, the Make America Great Again agenda, those three things, I think, lead to a Republican wave election in the next two elections. Am I wrong?
No, you're dead right. Freedom wins out if it's prosecuted right. And you know, they're doing everything they can to bring the Republican Party back. We just need to make our case.
All right, Senator, thank you.